My husband started a business. He lost all of our family's savings from the past 10 years. Not only was that not enough, we also ended up owing $3.3 million. Why didn't I choose to divorce him? Let's take the first point. We have to analyze it rationally. If he had spent it on eating, drinking, prostitution, gambling, and smoking, or kept other women on the side and truly harmed me, yet I still sold our house and car to repay his debts and stood at a counter selling goods every day, that would be impossible. But his purpose, his original intention was to make money. He wanted me and our children to live better lives. So it was only during that process that his judgment, his vision, and his ability caused him to lose money. But I also share responsibility and obligations. That's how I see it. What if both husband and wife are in debt, just like us? Let me give everyone a piece of advice. You must find a way for one person to get out first. At least keep one person financially clean. Start fresh. What about the other person? That person should take responsibility for all the calls, messages, and all the disputes. Remember this, never let both people fall into it. Now I'm divorced and $2 million in debt. I don't even know how I'm to repay tomorrow's loan. I'm 37 years old this year. I not only have to raise my child, I also have to Now every day, when I open my eyes, I don't even dare look at my phone. It's all calls and messages. The most important thing in my day now is simply taking care of the child. And what about those overdue payment messages? I just pretend I didn't see them. You have to understand, in the past, in front of friends, things were pretty good. A large luxury apartment, a nice car, and on social media it was either traveling or spending money in places that looked very upscale. Point 1.1. Honey, tell them, we have to repay these credit cards every month. How much pressure is that? Every time there are so many credit card bills, because each card's monthly repayment date is different. Yes, every time I see another bill arrive, my head feels like it's about to explode. In the blink of an eye, another month has passed and another bill comes. Again and again. What can you do? Then every time I tell him about it, sometimes he doesn't have any money either. What can we do? Then all we can do is use this card to pay that one back. It's what people online call using one credit card to keep turning the debt over. When you're in debt, don't go looking to relatives or friends for help. I'll use myself, my own personal experience of owing $3.98 million, to tell you. At this moment, you have no relatives, no friends. If no one kicks you while you're down, that's already very good. Let me tell you something from the heart. Even if you truly reach the point of begging for food, still don't beg your relatives and friends. The blogger said that although at the beginning you can still tear down the east wall to patch the west wall and temporarily keep things going, over time you fall into a vicious cycle. In the end, there's no way to fill that hole anymore. Liabilities of $3.525 million. A post-90s couple doesn't work. How does a family of 4 live? When my partner and I decided that we would never work for someone else again, it seemed our lives still weren't over. Today is the kids' once-a-week hamburger and chicken wing day. Ever since we decided not to work, we've insisted on living a minimalist life. We carefully calculate every expense. When I see everyone's wonderful lives in my social media feed, sometimes I envy them too. But people can't have everything. I know what matters most to me. At 11 today, the economy continues to decline, yet the Chinese Communist authorities keep loudly proclaiming a bright outlook. But at the real bottom of society, more and more people are falling into debt and becoming discredited debtors. Last year, the number of people nationwide who defaulted on personal credit and were placed on the blacklist reached 8.5 million. In 2020, that figure was still 5.7 million. In only 5 years, it increased by nearly 50%. One person's default often affects the entire family. The course of the whole family's life can be completely changed. What does life look like after becoming a discredited debtor? After being placed on the list of dishonest judgment debtors, restrictions are almost everywhere. You cannot take high-speed trains. You cannot fly. You cannot stay in star-rated hotels. You cannot leave the country. You cannot serve as a company executive. Your bank cards may be frozen. Your credit cards may become unusable. Even online shopping can be restricted. More realistically, calls from creditors demanding repayment. Threatening and harassing messages will become part of everyday life. Have any of you ended up buried in debt because of your husband? My husband and I got married in 2020. Before that, both of us had been scammed. The man was the one who handled it, and afterward it was probably under both of our names. He had more than 100,000, and I had more than 100,000. Altogether, it was a little over 300,000. After we got married, his family gave a bride price of 88,000 yuan. I felt we hadn't been married for very long. Then he told me that the bank had sued him. Yes, at that time, I took out all of my bride price money to repay his debt. Even that still wasn't enough. So I borrowed more than 100,000 from the bank and on credit cards. All of his debts were transferred into my name. Every single one of them was transferred into my name. The blogger Zhao Yu said that last month he didn't even have money for rent. He had no choice but to swallow his pride and contact some old friends. But they either didn't answer the phone or said they were in a meeting, finding all kinds of excuses to refuse him. Zhao Yu suddenly remembered his cousin back in his hometown. Years ago, when her younger brother was getting married and didn't have enough for the down payment, Zhao Yu said nothing. He directly transferred 60,000 yuan. He thought that, based on that relationship, now that he himself was in trouble, she would at least help him a little. But when he called, his cousin said, "Zhao Yu, I'm really tight on money right now too. I have something to take care of here. Let's talk later." After saying that, she hurriedly hung up. A few days later, Zhao Yu saw his cousin's social media feed and discovered that she had just bought a new car. There were also several newly purchased designer bags. Seeing this, Zhao Yu had mixed feelings. He said, "This is human nature. Try the dumbest method, but also the most effective one. Write down the worst thing you can imagine happening right now with a pen and paper. Then ask yourself 2 questions. Will your current situation kill you? The answer is definitely no. Second, if you think about your debt 100 times every day, will it become 1 cent smaller? Of course not. After you answer those 2 questions, you'll realize the sky cannot fall. No matter how bad things get, there is always a way to deal with them. Instead of being trapped in anxiety and fear every day, why not calm down? Find a way forward, 1 step at a time, and solve the problem." The blogger said ever since she took on all of the debt, she has had to repay more than 10,000 yuan in loans every month. But what truly chilled her heart was that her husband never once took the initiative to ask her, "Do you have enough money this month? Are any payments overdue?" Last month, she couldn't take it anymore. She had no choice but to ask her husband what they should do if there was no money to repay. Unexpectedly, her husband said, "What can I do? I don't have any money either." After hearing her husband's words, her heart went completely cold. Only after I climbed back up from debt did I understand. There is only one road that can truly lead to a comeback. Borrowing money to start a business, or hoping a benefactor will give you a hand. I've tried all of those. It was useless. I once worked in a traditional industry for more than 10 years. At my lowest point, when my debt was at its highest, I owed more than 3.6 million. I can understand what you're going through right now. First, pull yourself out of these negative emotions. Many people get stuck at this step and never make it out for the rest of their lives. Negative emotions cannot save you. They will only drag you down. This is the life of our family of 3 in Qingdao, living with 1.3 million in debt. If you feel like you can't endure it anymore, you can come and look at how we live. My husband and I are both from elsewhere. We bought a home in Qingdao in 2021. We have few relatives and friends here. Why did we choose to settle here? My husband and I both graduated from university in Qingdao. Then we met in Qingdao, fell in love, and got married. After getting married, we settled in Qingdao directly. For the home, we made a 400,000 yuan down payment in early 2021 and borrowed 1.3 million to buy it. At the time, the housing price was 15,000 yuan. The mortgage term was 30 years. Now the monthly payment is 3,700 yuan. Both of our parents are farmers. There is very little help they can provide us. The blogger said that since the child was born, she has stayed home full-time. The family's financial burden has basically fallen on her husband alone. Her husband works in sales. Right now, it's the slow season for sales. He can earn around 7,000 yuan a month. She said that although the pressure is indeed a little greater now, the days still pass slowly. As long as the whole family works hard together and grits their teeth to get through it, I believe life will gradually get better. I'm 38 years old this year. My husband is 35. We have a 3-year-old daughter. We have a house and a car, but we also have 100,000 in debt. Compared with my classmates and friends around me, we really are doing terribly. That makes me very anxious. When I look back, I've been repaying debt all along. Repaying student loans after graduation, buying a home and paying the mortgage, repaying money owed to relatives, buying a car and paying off the car loan. Now I'm middle-aged and still working away from home. I have elderly parents above me and a young child below me. It's truly embarrassing. But it's okay. It's only 100,000. Besides working a regular job, you still have at least 5 other ways to earn some money and repay your debts. I've personally tried and used all 5 of these methods. For a really long period of time, they helped relieve part of the pressure on me and helped me survive my most difficult days. The first method is to sell any extra things around you on a second-hand marketplace. Don't immediately start thinking, what do I have that's valuable? It doesn't have to be valuable. As long as you can exchange it for money, that's enough. The blogger said that at the time, he walked around his home and saw tables and chairs left over from when he ran a restaurant, as well as the pot on the balcony, a pothos plant that had survived for half a year. So he photographed everything and listed it online for sale. Unexpectedly, even the pothos had a buyer. He sold one pot for only 5 yuan. The buyer had to come to his home and pick it up. As for how to price your items, he suggested that if others sell something for 80 yuan, you sell it for 40. As long as someone is willing to buy it, you've made money. Because if something just sits unused at home, its value is 0. The blogger said that after discussing it with her husband, they decided to start with the following steps. Save money little by little. First, ensure a stable source of income. Her husband will focus on doing his job well, and she will continue doing her part-time work. Together, they can save 5,000 yuan each month. Second, stop spending in advance. Stop using Huabei and reduce credit card use. Make fewer unnecessary purchases. Normally, try to minimize spending outside the home. Save wherever possible. This blogger said that she discovered her husband had secretly accumulated 300,000 yuan in online loans behind her back. After the loans became overdue, the calls came like rain. They could receive several every day. Whenever the phone rang, both she and her husband became so tense they barely dared to breathe. The endless calls and overdue payment messages began from the very first day. The barrage of collection calls never stopped. From the first call early in the morning to reminder messages at 1 or 2 in the middle of the night, those ringing tones and pop-up notifications were like fatal charms. They were pinned to the phone and also pressed against our already tense nerves. If we didn't answer, we panicked. We were afraid of being labeled unreachable. We were afraid they would intensify the collection efforts. But answering was even more psychologically tormenting. The debt collector's words were full of openly vicious threats. If you don't pay, we'll expose your family contact list. We'll let your relatives and friends know that you're someone who owes money and refuses to repay it. We can even find out where your son goes to school. So when you discover that your wife has secretly accumulated hundreds of thousands in debt behind your back, what would you do? I actually understand it very well. You'd probably feel both angry and wronged. You wouldn't understand why the other person hid it, or what exactly the borrowed money was used for. But think about it again. Why didn't she tell you? Actually, it isn't necessarily because she doesn't trust you. It's because she loves you too much. She's afraid you'll worry, afraid you'll feel pressured, afraid you'll think she's useless. She's thinking, if I can carry it myself, then I'll carry it. But in the end, it creates an even bigger hole. Someone asked, if you're in debt, should you get divorced? My God, what are you thinking? I'm sitting at the front desk of our company right now answering this question. Debt is just debt. Why would the two of you divorce over it? Why let it tear apart your wife, children, and family? What are you doing? If you owe money, then repay it. What does that have to do with your relationship? If you're in debt, go earn money. Find ways to make money. Go work and earn money. Stop thinking about divorce all the time. When most people fall into a desperate situation, both their body and mind take a severe blow. They may be unable to sleep night after night. Then anxiety fills their mind. Every day they want to hide and avoid seeing people. They either shut themselves away or lose their temper. And the people they lash out at are often their own family members. This is because you refuse to accept reality no matter what. You don't dare face it. All day long you seem dazed and muddled. You scroll on your phone every day and mentally exhaust yourself every day. He said, everyone, there's no need to be anxious. This is simply what society is like now. Having no money is normal. Being in debt is normal too. Having loans is also normal. I'll even tell you this. Nowadays, even having bad credit or being listed as a dishonest debtor has become common. Don't feel that your life is uniquely terrible right now. Look at the people around you. Out of 100 people, perhaps 98 of them aren't doing very well. Many people may even be worse off than you, even though you're in debt. Remember, 30 years east of the river, 30 years west of the river. The storm is only temporary. Eventually, the sun will shine again. I believe we will eventually turn things around and get back on shore. Keep going, brothers. Someone asked, if you're in debt, should you get divorced? My God, what are you thinking? I'm sitting at the front desk of our company right now answering this question. Debt is just debt. Why would the two of you divorce over it? Why let it tear apart your wife, children, and family? What are you doing? If you owe money, then repay it. What does that have to do with your relationship? If you're in debt, go earn money. Find ways to make money. Go work and earn money. Stop thinking about divorce all the time. When most people fall into a desperate situation, both their body and mind take a severe blow. They may be unable to sleep night after night. Then anxiety fills their mind. Every day they want to hide and avoid seeing people. They either shut themselves away or lose their temper. And the people they lash out at are often their own family members. This is because you refuse to accept reality no matter what. You don't dare face it. All day long you seem dazed and muddled. You scroll on your phone every day and mentally exhaust yourself every day. And we paid off $180,000 in credit card debt over 7 years. How did we, a post-90s couple, do it? First, we clearly figured out exactly how much we owed in total. Some people may not want to face it, but this is the first step toward paying off debt. The second step is to know exactly how much income you currently have, how much you spend, and when each loan payment is due. Each month, while ensuring you can still live, use all remaining money to repay debt. The third step is to save wherever you can. If you don't have to buy it, don't buy it. At that time, we insisted on cooking for ourselves and bringing meals to work. When we went out, we took buses or the subway. We basically never took taxis or ordered food delivery. Our family of 3 lived on less than 2,000 yuan a month. Yang Sheng from Guizhou once worked in renovation. Later, he partnered with friends to open a bar and a private club. Unexpectedly, after opening, they ran into a fire safety inspection. The business was suspended for rectification. Then repeated COVID outbreaks followed. In the end, he went completely bankrupt in 2023, owing 5.9 million. To avoid his creditors and also search for a chance to turn things around, he went to Yiwu. Now he rents a place for 800 yuan a month. He works odd jobs and earns 2 or 3,000 yuan a month. He said there are many people like him in Yiwu. Everyone is searching for an opportunity to stand back up. Peng Fei from Guangdong once had company assets worth 6 or 7 million. After pandemic controls, the company collapsed overnight. He was left carrying bank loans, high-interest loans, and private borrowing totaling 3 to 4 million. During this year's Qingming Festival, his ancestral grave was dug up by 2 high-interest lenders. He owed them 340,000 and 160,000 respectively. When he heard the news, he was completely stunned. All he could say to the creditors was, "You can even take my life if you want. I'm nothing but a worthless life anyway." In the end, the creditors said he only needed to repay the principal. They no longer wanted the interest. Peng Fei said frankly that there is a joking saying often heard in their circle, "These days, anyone with even a little ambition seems to be in debt." He has a friend from Hebei who runs a factory producing freeze dryers, mainly for use in the pharmaceutical industry. Last year, he sold a complete set of equipment to a pharmaceutical company. He made only 10,000 yuan from the deal. Later, that company was suspected of producing counterfeit medicine, and his friend was implicated as well. In the end, this friend was not only sentenced, but was also fined 400,000 yuan. The 10,000 yuan he had earned earlier was also confiscated, and he was detained for 6 months. After being released, he still faced collection of the fine. Peng Fei was puzzled by the judgment. He said, "That company produced fake medicine. What did that have to do with my friend?" Yet his friend was still sentenced and given a huge fine. This made him even more disappointed with the domestic business environment. This friend had already owed more than 800,000 yuan. Adding the 400,000 yuan fine, he almost lost any possibility of starting over. Now, this friend has found a Vietnamese wife and plans to develop his future in Vietnam. Behind every number in this story is a real family struggling to hold itself together. The video cites 8.5 million people in China placed on the credit default blacklist, compared with 5.7 million in 2020, an increase of nearly 50%. We also heard stories of families carrying debts of 3.3 million yuan, 3.98 million yuan, and even 5.9 million yuan, while some households cut their monthly living expenses to less than 2,000 yuan just to keep paying what they owe. These figures show that debt is not simply a financial problem. Once repayments become impossible, the consequences can spread into marriages, relationships with relatives, children's lives, mental pressure, and even basic daily choices. Some people described being overwhelmed by collection calls from morning until late at night, while others spent years paying down their debts. One couple in this video took 7 years to repay 180,000 yuan in credit card debt. Perhaps the most important lesson is that financial collapse does not always mean the end of a family or the end of a person's future. Facing the numbers clearly, cutting unnecessary spending, protecting a stable source of income, and rebuilding step by step may not provide an immediate solution, but they can create a path forward. What do you think about the stories in today's video? Have economic pressure and household debt become a much bigger problem for ordinary families in China than many people realize? Share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you very much for watching and for staying with us until the end. If you found this story meaningful, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and join us as we continue looking beyond the headlines to understand the lives of ordinary people across China. See you in the next video.